The gun barrel was inches from his face. The security guard's hand trembled with rage, but Colonel Marcus Reynolds didn't flinch. When 20 years of Special Forces training meets racial profiling, who really hold the power? Just minutes earlier, Colonel Marcus Reynolds had been strolling through Eastbrook Mall, his measured gait reflecting 2 decades of military discipline. The retired Army Green Beret scanned the jewelry counter, searching for the perfect gift for his daughter's graduation. At 6 feet 2 inches, with broad shoulders and graying temples, Marcus carried himself with the unmistakable composure of a career soldier. His polo shirt was perfectly pressed, his jeans immaculate, habits ingrained from years of military standards. The silver Ford F-150 with combat veteran license plates hadn't been parked 10 minutes before security took notice. Marcus sensed eyes on him, a feeling he'd known both in combat and increasingly in civilian spaces. Ryan Daniels, head of mall security, had been watching the black man since he entered. 17 years working security had taught Daniels to identify threats, a philosophy that consistently targeted certain shoppers over others. Check out the guy at Carter's Jewelers. Daniels radioed to his assistant, Peter Walsh. Been looking too long, not buying anything. Marcus noticed a security guard's reflection in the glass display case. The way he hovered, the way his hand rested on his belt. It was a familiar feeling. Being seen as a threat instead of a customer, a suspect instead of a hero. His phone buzzed, a text from his wife. "Don't forget size 7. Marcus smiled, unaware that his next few minutes would become national news. "Sir, I need to speak with you." Marcus turned to face Daniels, whose badge gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Years of military intelligence had taught Marcus to read people quickly. The security guard's stance was unnecessarily aggressive, his tone confrontational. "Is there a problem?" Marcus asked, his voice measured, calm. Daniels stepped closer. "What are you doing here?" 20 years of military restraint kept Marcus's expression neutral. "Shopping for my daughter's graduation gift." "You've been circling the store for 15 minutes. Daniels' hand rested near his holster, an intentional gesture. "I've been here for 10 minutes, selecting a gift." Marcus maintained eye contact. His posture relaxed despite the tension building around them. "Is there a specific concern?" Daniels' eyes narrowed. "We've had reports of suspicious activity." "What activity would that be?" Each word precise, controlled. The same tone Marcus had used negotiating with tribal leaders in Afghanistan. Several customers slowed, watching the interaction unfold. The jeweler behind the counter looked uncomfortable. "I'll need to see some ID." Daniels held out his hand. Marcus assessed his options. Combat had taught him to recognize unnecessary escalation. "May I ask why I'm being singled out?" "There are several other customers shopping." "ID now." Daniels' voice hardened. With deliberate slowness, movements calculated to appear non-threatening. Marcus reached for his wallet. His military ID was prominently displayed next to his driver's license. Colonel Marcus Reynolds, United States Army Special Forces, retired. His credentials were clear, his rank unmistakable. Daniels barely glanced at it. "This doesn't look real." Marcus felt a familiar stillness settle over him, the same calm that preceded combat operations. "I assure you it's authentic. 23 years of service, including 5 combat tours." Daniel smirked. "Right. And I'm the Secretary of Defense." He handed the ID back dismissively. "We've had problems with fake military IDs before." The insult landed precisely as intended, but Marcus's expression never changed. That's what they never understood about Special Forces training. It wasn't just about combat. It was about control. "Sir, I'd like to speak with your supervisor." Marcus's voice remained steady, though something had shifted in his eyes, a focus that his former teammates would have recognized immediately. Daniel stepped closer, invading Marcus's personal space. "I am the supervisor, and I'm telling you there's been complaints." "What complaints specifically?" Marcus stood his ground, not retreating, not advancing. "Look, just move along. We don't need your kind causing trouble here." The words hung in the air. Your kind. In 2 decades of military service across 4 continents, Marcus had earned the Bronze Star with valor, 2 Purple Hearts, and commanded elite soldiers in the world's most dangerous places. But here in an American mall, he was reduced to your kind. I'd like clarification on that statement. Marcus's words were measured, deliberately giving Daniels a chance to reconsider. Instead, Daniels reached for his radio. "Peter, I need backup at Carter's." The store manager appeared, nervously glancing between them. "Is everything okay?" "This individual is being asked to leave," Daniels stated flatly. Marcus addressed the manager directly. "I'm a customer selecting a graduation gift for my daughter. I've been asked for identification without cause and am now being told to leave." The manager hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "Perhaps we can—" "This isn't your concern." Daniels cut him off. "Mall security matter." Marcus's phone buzzed again. His wife. What would he tell her? That he couldn't buy their daughter's graduation gift because a security guard decided he didn't belong? In Kandahar, Marcus had once negotiated with tribal leaders while surrounded by hostile forces. He'd maintained his composure then, and he would now. "I understand you're doing your job," Marcus said, shifting strategies. "But I am a legitimate customer with proper identification. That ID could be fake. For all I know, you printed it online." Daniels' stance widened, aggressive. "Real soldiers don't look like you." The statement was so blatant, so raw, that several nearby customers audibly gasped. Marcus felt his combat instincts calculating distances, exits, threats, just as they had in war zones. But this wasn't combat. This was America, where he'd sworn to uphold values that suddenly felt very distant. Peter Walsh appeared, another security guard with an even more aggressive posture. The situation was about to escalate. "What's the problem, Ryan?" Walsh asked, eyes fixed on Marcus with immediate suspicion. Claims he's some kind of army colonel, not leaving when asked. Daniels sounded almost pleased with the reinforcement. Walsh circled to Marcus's right, creating a flanking position. Whether intentionally or by instinct, it was a tactical move. "Sir, you need to exit the premises now." Walsh's hand rested on his belt, mirroring Daniels' stance. Marcus recognized the coordinated positioning. He'd trained soldiers in similar maneuvers for containment situations. 2-man control tactics, now being used against him in a shopping mall. "I've done nothing wrong," Marcus stated. "I'm a paying customer being profiled." "He's becoming aggressive," Walsh said to Daniels, though Marcus hadn't moved. A cold realization washed over Marcus. This situation followed a familiar pattern, one he'd briefed his own son about when he turned 16. "Keep your hands visible. Don't make sudden movements. Maintain verbal control." "I am not being aggressive," Marcus clarified. "I am standing still, speaking calmly." Daniels stepped closer. "Last chance. Leave voluntarily or we'll escort you out." Marcus thought of his daughter's graduation, just 3 days away. After 3 tours in Afghanistan and 2 in Iraq, he'd missed too many milestones. He'd promised to be there for this one, with her gift in hand. In the mountains of Afghanistan, surrounded by insurgents, Marcus had once waited 18 hours in complete stillness for extraction. Patience was a weapon. So was time. "I would like to speak to the mall manager," Marcus requested. "That's it." Daniels grabbed Marcus's arm. "You're coming with us." Military training kicked in. Marcus smoothly shifted his weight, not to resist but to maintain balance without escalating physical contact. "Take your hands off me." His command voice emerged, the tone that had directed Special Forces operations in 6 countries. Daniels misinterpreted the response as resistance. "He's resisting." Grab his other arm. Customers had formed a semicircle, shocked expressions on their faces. One woman had her phone out, recording. "I am not resisting," Marcus stated clearly, loudly enough for the camera to capture. "I am a customer being assaulted without cause." But Daniels and Walsh were already dragging him toward the store exit, creating exactly the scene they claimed to be preventing. They reached the mall corridor, away from most of the store customers. Daniels shoved Marcus against the wall, while Walsh created a barrier to block public view. "You people always think you're special," Daniels hissed, his face inches from Marcus's. "Think the rules don't apply to you." Marcus maintained his composure, though his heart rate hadn't elevated. Combat breathing. For counts in, for counts hold, for counts out. The same technique he'd taught his soldiers before high-risk operations. The only rules being broken here are yours, Marcus replied evenly. Harassment and unlawful detention. That's when Daniels snapped. His hand dropped his holster, unclipping the retention strap. The gun came out in one fluid motion, not quite pointed at Marcus, but not quite pointed away either. You want to see harassment? Daniels growled. Keep talking. 23 years of military service flashed through Marcus's mind. Firefights and mountain passes. Hostage extractions under heavy fire. Direct action missions where the slightest mistake meant death. Yet nothing prepared him for having a gun brandished at him on American soil. For the crime of shopping while black. The weapon didn't frighten Marcus. He'd faced far worse. What chilled him was the realization. His uniform had once offered some protection against this treatment. Out of uniform, he was just another target. Lower your weapon, Marcus ordered, his voice calm but carrying the authority that had commanded elite units. You're committing a felony. Walsh looked nervous now. Ryan, come on, man. Not here. But Daniels was beyond reason, raising the gun to point directly at Marcus's chest. Shut up. On your knees. Now. Marcus didn't move. His eyes locked with Daniels's, evaluating the genuine threat level. The security guard's finger was on the trigger guard. Poor discipline, but marginally safer. I will not get on my knees, Marcus stated, each word precise and clear. You have no lawful authority to point that weapon at me. Time seemed to stretch. Marcus calculated his options, just as he had in combat zones. Disarming Daniels would take less than 2 seconds. The guard's grip was poor, his stance unbalanced. But civilian casualties, legal consequences. Then a voice cut through the tension. I've got all of this on video. Police are on their way. A young man stood 10 feet away, smartphone held high, live streaming everything. Behind him, several mall patrons had gathered, their own phones recording. This is going viral right now. The young man called out, 3,000 people watching this racist security guard pull a gun on an unarmed shopper. Daniels's eyes flickered toward the cameras, the gun wavering slightly. This is mall security business. Move along. But no one moved. The audience grew larger as shoppers from neighboring stores joined the crowd. Lower your weapon, Mr. Daniels, Marcus repeated, his voice calm but projecting clearly for the recording. You've made a serious error in judgment. Walsh backed away, suddenly distancing himself from his partner. Ryan, holster your weapon. This isn't worth it. Marcus remained perfectly still, maintaining eye contact with Daniels. He'd faced down warlords and insurgent leaders. He recognized the look of a man realizing he'd lost control. Mall security. A new voice cut through the standoff. A professionally dressed woman pushed through the crowd, flanked by 2 uniformed security officers. What is happening here? Ma'am, I'm Elizabeth Chun, Mall Operations Director. She addressed Marcus, deliberately positioning herself between him and Daniels. Sir, please holster your weapon immediately, she ordered Daniels. The crisis point had passed. Marcus watched Daniels reluctantly lower his weapon. The man's face contorted with rage and emerging fear. This man was threatening shoppers. Daniels attempted, but the live stream had already captured the truth. That's a lie, called several voices from the crowd. Chun turned to Marcus. Sir, I deeply apologize for this incident. Are you all right? I am Colonel Marcus Reynolds, United States Army Special Forces, retired. Marcus stated clearly, standing at his full height. And I would like to file formal charges against these officers for assault, unlawful detention, and brandishing a weapon. The crowd murmured as Marcus's military title registered. Chen's eyes widened in recognition. Colonel Reynolds? The Colonel Reynolds who received the Distinguished Service Cross last year at the Pentagon ceremony. Daniels's face drained of color. Yes, ma'am. Marcus's composure never wavered. Chen turned to Daniels, fury evident in her expression. You pulled a weapon on a decorated Special Forces colonel. The gravity of the situation finally seemed to register with Daniels. His hand trembled as he fully holstered his weapon. I didn't know, Daniels began. That's precisely the point, Marcus interrupted. "You didn't know anything about me before deciding I was a threat." Police officers entered the corridor, responding to multiple 911 calls. The situation reversed with stunning speed. Daniels and Walsh were separated, questioned, their weapons secured. Marcus provided his statement with military precision, each detail cataloged with the same attention he'd given mission reports. The live stream video had already been shared thousands of times, with comments flooding in. "That's Colonel Reynolds. He led the hostage rescue in Somalia last year. My brother served under him in Afghanistan. Most respected officer in Special Forces. Look how calm he stays while being threatened. That's real military training." As Marcus completed his statement, a group of men in military haircuts approached through the crowd. Leading them was Command Sergeant Major Jefferson, Marcus's former team member. "Colonel," Jefferson said, snapping a perfect salute, "we were meeting for our veterans' lunch when we saw the live stream. Figured you might want some battle buddies present." 6 decorated veterans formed a semicircle behind Marcus, a visual testament to brotherhood that transcended race. The police chief arrived personally, apologizing to Marcus, while officers escorted Daniels away in handcuffs. "Sir, on behalf of the entire department, I want to express our deepest regrets," the chief said. Marcus nodded once. "It's not about me, Chief. It's about accountability." Within hours, the video had millions of views. By evening, national news networks were covering the story. Daniels was fired immediately, facing criminal charges for assault with a deadly weapon. Walsh was suspended pending investigation. Marcus finally purchased his daughter's graduation gift. The mall insisted it be complimentary, though he politely declined. At his daughter's graduation ceremony, Marcus received a standing ovation when introduced among the parents. But the most profound impact came in the mall's announced policy changes, mandatory anti-bias training for all security personnel, community oversight board implementation, and a new veterans employment program. The incident sparked a nationwide conversation about how Black veterans are treated after serving their country. In interviews, Marcus remained humble. "This isn't about me. It's about recognizing that the uniform once offered some protection that shouldn't be necessary. Every citizen deserved the same respect, regardless of rank or service." When asked if he would tell others facing similar situations, Marcus's response was pure military precision. "Stay composed. Know your rights. And remember that sometimes the most powerful weapon is truth. Capture for all to see." If this story affected you, share it. Comment with your experiences. Subscribe for more stories of justice prevailing against all odds.